Hello and welcome to Rockstar Manager. I'm Dr. K, the management professor, and this episode is about developing a brand strategy, more specifically, sources of brand equity. First, please subscribe to my channel by hitting the subscribe button down below, and also hit the notifications button so you'll see each time I post a new video. There are two sources of brand equity: brand awareness and brand image. Brand awareness is about how quickly a consumer can recall or identify the brand under different circumstances. For example, if I reference the Golden Arches, most of you will likely think of McDonald's. Brand image is the perception that a consumer has about a particular brand. For example, if I said Prada, you would think luxury, sophistication, and high-end. First, let's take a deep dive into brand awareness. Brand awareness consists of two components: brand recognition and brand recall. Brand recognition is when a consumer can quickly recognize the brand based on limited exposure, like a particular style, set of colors, or logo. Brand recall is the consumer's ability to think about the brand when a category or need is triggered. For example, if I want cereal, I might think of Kellogg's Corn Flakes. Or if I want to buy a stationary bike, I might think of Peloton. If you're starting your own brand, not only does the product or service need to be good, but you have to think of a way to separate it from the competitors so it's also memorable. Think about all those times you saw the checkmark or the Nike swoosh on a product. What will your brand have to make it memorable? Now let's talk about establishing brand awareness. But before we do, let's talk about the advantages of brand awareness. In fact, there are three. There are learning advantages, consideration advantages, and choice advantages. Learning advantages influence and strengthen the correlations in the consumer's memory and the brand's image. In order to build brand equity, you have to introduce the brand to the consumer. The second advantage is consideration. If you want to build a brand, you need the consumer to think about your product or service each time the consumer has to fill a need or recommend you to someone else when they have a need. In fact, when you become top of mind each time the consumer wants to make a purchase, congratulations, you are part of the consideration set, which is a handful of brands that the consumer recalls. The third learning advantage of brand awareness is choice awareness. In general, we buy the brands that are familiar to us. It really requires a low level of brand awareness and minimal decision-making thought. For example, if your mom always bought you the same deodorant for years, and you move out and you start to buy your own deodorant, you'll likely buy that same deodorant that you're familiar with, rather than exercising some deep thought as to which brand you should purchase. Furthermore, there's something called the elaboration likelihood model. Low involvement results when consumers lack purchase motivation, meaning they don't care about the product or service, purchasability, meaning they don't care or they don't know anything else about the brands in that particular category, or purchase opportunity, which means they don't have the time or the ability to face, or they face some other constraint. Now let's talk about the two sources of brand equity: brand awareness and brand image. First, we'll talk about establishing brand awareness. Like so many things in life, there's theory and there's application. In theory, you have to repeatedly increase the competency and familiarity of the brand so that it becomes so familiar that that brand recall is second nature. This means you have to create a brand, not just a product or service, that's memorable. Think about its name, the logo, the font that you use in advertising, the purpose, and the memorability of your slogan. Do you package it in a way that makes you want to show your friends? What about it is so special that consumers will want to market it for you? What reputation do you want to have? Keep in mind, repetition increases recognizability, but improving brand recall links to consumption or purchase cues. The other thing I'll mention, but don't necessarily agree with from a marketing standpoint, is the shock factor. Sometimes you'll see a weird introduction to a product or service, which makes it memorable but not necessarily confident in the brand. The second source of brand equity is brand image. Once the brand awareness is established, you can focus on the image. Brand associations may be connected to brand attributes or brand benefits. Brand attributes are the main characteristics of a product or service, and the brand benefits, which are the value the consumer sees from using the product or service. Additionally, there are three components that impact brand associations: strength, favorability, and uniqueness. The strength of a brand association is based on the relevancy of the product or service to the consumer, as well as the consistency of how it's presented over time. The favorability of a brand association may be on a case-by-case basis with considerations of situation, needs versus wants, and other factors in the consumption decision process. The uniqueness of a brand, the uniqueness of a brand association is based on its competitive advantage and the differentiating factor or factors of the product that deem it unique. Hopefully you have a better understanding of the sources of brand equity. If you're interested in learning more about related topics, you can find my book, Rockstar Manager from Theory to Practice, Build a Rockstar Business from Ideation to Inception in 120 Minutes if you want to start a new business, or read Pearson's Strategic Brand Management 5th edition. Thank you for your time. Be your best you and be a rockstar manager.